Good afternoon, friends. May I now welcome Major General G.D. Bakshi to deliver a keynote address on learning from the front. General Bakshi is a former Army General and highly reputed communication expert. He is a proud recipient of Vasishtha Seva Medal as well as Sena Medal for his distinguished service to the Indian Army and continues to serve the nations on speaking on various topics of military and non-military nature. He is a regular figure in the evening news. Please give a big round of applause and welcoming Major General G.D. Bakshi. Major General Bakshi's session is a fitting opening for today's evening, where entrepreneurs are here together to learn, to share, and take away from the leaders. A general who has led the army in the battlefield, where the leader determines who gets out alive. The strategies, what are implemented, discussed in the boardrooms, are implemented on the ground. And just before the program, I had the opportunity to speak to General, and he was sharing how he stands by with his team in the event of any decision taken. The split decision taken at the time in the battlefield is very important. We are all eagerly awaiting to hear from you, sir. Thank you.
Can we have you on stage, sir, please? I'd like to call Mr. Sandeep Bafna, Council Member Fodder, to felicitate Mr. General G.D. Bakshi, please. Can I have you on stage? Sandeep Bafna. Just a second, sir. Yes, sir. All yours.
Thank you. A very good afternoon to you, ladies and gentlemen. It is indeed a privilege for an old soldier to come and interact with such a hands-on audience of professionals, leaders. That's what we have in front of us. Each and every one of you is here because he is a leader in his own field, a professional and an accomplished person who achieves goals. Now, a number of times in these corporate interactions, people ask me, well, what's common, General, between you and what we do? The fact is, the armed forces are designed to provide leadership in the face of death, doom, destruction, wounds, darkness, everything. I mean, this is the ultimate fear. This is what you have to face through. And what works here will work in all lesser circumstances. Everything that is battle tested, that can see you through a war, will see you through much lesser situations. At the psychological plane, may I tell you that your job is as stressful. And the human body, the physiology, does not recognize the difference between a saber-toothed tiger, a round bursting in your face, and a boss, angry boss, who's demanding why you were not able to meet your deadlines, why you were not able to meet your targets. The clanging psychological, biochemical response within the body, the upsurge of adrenaline, etc., the shooting up of your sugar, the blood pressure, etc., is all the same. A lot of the jargon from which was there in the management field, Peter Drucker et al., most of it is borrowed from the military field, Second World War experience. Most of Drucker's theories on management actually, emanated from there. So there is a lot that is common between us. I have to achieve targets too. But my targets were defined in terms of number of terrorists killed, number of terrorists captured, number of weapons recovered. And these were my positive set of indicators. The negative set of indicators were how many IEDs went off in your place, how many incidents of shooting took place, how many civilians were killed, how many ambushes, how many that. It's all quantified. And at the end of the day, neither the armed forces nor you can afford to deal in theory or merchant peddle theories. We have to deal with facts. We have to deal with facts. We have to produce results on the ground. Now, I'll actually like to switch a little to leadership in the Indian context. And this collage has very deliberately been chosen. There is the redoubtable Field Marshal Sam Manekshaw. There is Air Marshal P.C. Lal. There is the Marshal of the Air Force, whom we just recently lost. There is Admiral Nanda, Bulldog, the man who bombed Karachi. And then, of course, you see Sam and the lady, the one lady that broke Pakistan in two. What I'm trying to tell you is that nothing gets done. And one of the top jobs of the leadership, of the top management, is to coordinate and synchronize. Let's get that right. One of the top, aspects of strategic management is coordination and synchronization, harmonization of various, the Army, the Navy, the Air Force, to produce some results. The harmonization of the political leadership with the armed forces. The harmonization of the industry with the armed forces at the times of war to sort of deliver results. Now in India, and when we talk of leadership in India, I would like to highlight one fact. There is no dearth of talent in this country. I mean, there is amazing amount of talents which is available here in just not this hall, but this country per se. Half of NASA is Indians. Half of the Silicon Valley is Indians. Half the doctors, specialists in the United States of America are Indians. We have no dearth of talent. What I am trying to point out as a leader is where we lack, and it's a glaring deficiency. And you know what is that? Take a look at your sports arena, right? Take a look at the results of the Asian Games, the Commonwealth Games. Who gets the prize for wrestling? Indians. Who gets the medal for boxing? Indians. Who gets the medal for archery? Indians. Who gets the medal for, riding? Indians. Who gets the medal for weightlifting? Indians. These are all individual games. These are all, I repeat and I re-emphasize, these are all individual games. We excel individually. The Indian tradition is, karmanesu kaushalam, yoga, karmanesu kaushalam. Yoga is skill in action. So from the time of Arjun, from the time of, that Bhil archer of ours, Eklavya, you have been working, slogging to achieve personal, individual excellence. Our problem is in team games. How many times do we win football? How many times do we win in hockey? We managed to lose the position that we had. We're struggling to regain it. How many times do you win in basketball? How many times do you win in team games? The problem with the Indians is that you are individually brilliant, but I'm afraid you can't get your act together. At the risk of repetition, I would like to re-emphasize that famous crab story. There was that famous Indian entrepreneur from Gujarat who started a business of exporting crabs, right? And he did phenomenally well. So the media went up to him to interview him and ask him, sir, what is the secret of your success? I mean, how did you make such phenomenal profits in a business where there is such heavy competition? He used to export live crabs. He says, I exported crabs in these plywood boxes, but we removed the lids. We removed the damn lids. So he said, excuse me, I don't get that. You were exporting live crabs, right? He said, yes. And you had no lid? No. So, but didn't the crabs crawl out? He said, no, they are Indian crabs. If one crab is trying to get out, there'll be 10 crabs which will try and pull him down. Please understand that, because there is a lesson in it very specifically for your context. Every time there is one crab who tries to crab out, the other Indian crabs will all try and get him down. This has been our failing. Sometimes I used to ask myself, why is it so? I think it's possibly a function of our climate and the kind of, there's such a productive soil that you don't have to struggle as an entity. In India, you can go become a hermit and stay in the middle of a forest, build your own hut and survive. Can you do that in Siberia? You can't. Can you do that in the winter of Europe? You can't. Therefore, people have had traditionally to come together and work. And you find the Europeans are very good, the Americans are very good at coordinated action, right? Just take the example of communities singing. Ask the Indians to sing a song together, and you'll find the discordant voices, even the Aarti. It's a miracle, and we tried to have this in the armed forces, the military singing of these kind of songs, and you found that it just doesn't work. Individually, we can sing ragas. Collectively, I'm afraid we fail. And one of the greatest lackings, if there is in the genre of Indian leadership, it's our failure to coordinate, it's our failure to synchronize, and coordination and synchronization, harmonization of a body, team building is a primary function of leadership. If we can't get our act together, we all sink together, we all swim together. And you see, the more you focus on the higher good, in the armed forces we were taught, look, units compete amongst themselves fiercely in sports, in games, and whatever. But you were taught that where do you put the U or the I? If I put the I at the smallest, lowest level, I think I'm going to go wrong. The higher I pitch the high at the national level and the others, if we think in national terms as a people, then we're not likely to go very wrong. That is one of the prime lessons as we have seen in leadership, and it's across the board, whether in the armed forces, whether in this. And the one time that we performed brilliantly together was the 1971 war. The Army, the Navy, the Air Force were made to sit together. They were made to, from the very top directions, whatever personality dissonances you may have had, you were made to iron them out. The Army had to present its plans with the presence of the Army and the Navy and the Air Chief, and vice versa. And that's how we were able to coordinate, and we had fortunately got 9 months to get our act together. And once we got our act together, my God, 13 days we had cut Pakistan into two. We had vivisected Pakistan into two, created a new nation state with the force of arms, and there were 93,000 prisoners of war. And you see, the biggest blow was to the Pakistani, that sense of superiority and elan. One Pakistani is equal to 10 Indians. I have had the privilege of seeing them being herded into the goods trains, like you herd cattle and sheep. They were being herded, the damn door was being locked from outside, and they were being sent. Those of us who lived through 1971. That was the peak of your coordination, your synergy. And my greatest advice is that if there's one aspect of leadership that we really need to focus on, it is that coordination, synchronization, generation of synergy, team building, and sustaining a team together. That is, one of the areas that we really need to look a lot upon. We are living through an era of great challenge. Arnold Toynbee, the doyen of historians, said, great civilizations arise only in response to major challenges from the natural or the social environment. You are living through a period of great turbulence. You have demonetization, we've had the mal effects of demonetization, then we've had the GST coming in, and the initial teething troubles. All this is creating turbulence. All this is creating turbulence. All this is creating ambiguity. You are living in times of great ambiguity, great turbulence, great flux, great change. And you as visionary leaderships have to chart a course through this flux of turbulence to see that you anticipate the future and you are not reacting. but you are proactively shaping the future that emerges. That is critical and important. What I'll do in a very brief way, because, the Americans say, don't tell us, show us. Boliye mat sahab, hame dikhaiye. So I'll give you a very brief, capsulated case study of an environment of ambiguity and challenge, and how in the armed forces I had to respond to it. I am incidentally passing, I'd like to mention, my service profile has been very lucky in the sense that as a major, I was under fire. As a lieutenant, lieutenant colonel, I was commanding my battalion in Kargil, the heaviest fire. In a matter of about 5 months, I had lost 6 boys killed, 21 wounded. That was the level of action that I was under. As a brigade commander, I was under the dirtiest portion of Jammu and Kashmir that could be selected was given to me. That was Kishtwar. And then, of course, as a divisional commander, when I was hoping at least I'll get to command a division in peace, I was sent to Rajouri and Poonch because that was the hottest area. So I asked my personnel branch, which you call your human resources branch. In our case, it is the MS branch. I said, boss, what is the idea? Are you trying to get me killed? Because after every one hard tenure, you are supposed to get a peace tenure. No, sir, you've done very well. So, we tend to push guys who do well till they, one of the fine days, they pop it. But I have managed to survive. I was called once for that Lifetime Achievement Award, and they asked me, what was the greatest thing that you did? What was your greatest achievement in, your 37 bloody years of soldiering? I said, with as flat and deadpan a face as I could, I said, I'm alive. So, and that's thanks to my wife's prayer and my daughter's prayers. But coming out alive of such situations is itself the thing. But what I would just like to tell you is, I'd just like to give you a brief case study, very brief, encapsulated. That was Kaksar, Kargil sector, 1990-91. Now, everybody knows of the intrusions that took place in 1999 and the war that follows. How many of you were aware that the first intrusion and the first major battles took place in 1990-91 and they were blanked out of the media? They were blanked out of the media. I'm telling you of what is ambiguity, what is, what is the, situation of this. Just take a look at this map, and it will show you. This is the road that goes from, Srinagar. This is Kargil. That's Kargil, and then you have Kaksar, where that blue arrow is, right? The road takes a big bloody loop, and this is the place which is shortest, closest to the line of control. Okay? I'm just trying to situate so that you understand what the situation was and how we had to deal with it, right? This is the place which is closest to the line of control, 5 bloody kilometers as the crow flies. This is the most dangerous area. Now, there used to be a huge big minefield which was laid here in 1965. And every time there was handing taking over between units, they said, "Sahab, yahan mat jana, yahan minefield hai. Pav phat jayega, sir ud jayega, etc., etc." So nobody went. And slowly, over the period of time, the snows washed the mines away, put them into the Shingo River, and the Pakistanis just crept up. They occupied one post, it was Khali. They occupied the other, it was Khali. Then they occupied the 2 ridgeline, it was Khali. And from the side you could not see because there's a steep gorge. And one fine day, one of the locals said, "Saab, mere ko mera muavza chahiye, ye jo yahan pe mere khurmani ke ped the." तो उन्होंने बोला, "साहब ये माइनफील्ड साफ करनी पड़ेगी, साहब साफ कराओ." Finally the army was told to clear the minefield, and when we cleared the minefield, to the horror, we found a Pakistani post. The Pakistani post commander, Major Nadeem, was a very friendly guy, poor fellow, and he came up, he says, "अरे तुम कहाँ आ रहे हो?" तो बोले, "ये तो हमारा एरिया है." बोले, "सर क्या बात करते हो, मैं यहाँ से पिछली पोस्टिंग में भी यहाँ था और मैं यहाँ से स्टाफ कॉलेज करने गया." So, so now we had problems, and to cut a long story short, serious problems started. That unit, you can imagine the unit when people saw the map, and this is the intrusion here. The CO was, a pressure charge was put under his chair, and he moved up, down, they tried everything. The Pakistanis already had the heights. We were on the low ground. And you can imagine if you are in the mountains, all that you have to do is patthar pheki aap, kuch nahi hoga. And to cut the story short, this unit was miserable. They lost 40 killed, They had about another 136 wounded. They had to be 3 months taken out. Next unit came. And then after that, it was G.D. Bakshi's unit's chance to grace this place, which was the worst area in the whole Indian army that you could get, because the Pakistanis were on top. They were firing day in, day out. You know, on some of the forward posts, we could not move by day. We had to go only on 15 moonless nights of the month. Even if you went in the moonlight, you got shot. You had to do your ablutions inside the bunker and throw it out. Your khana had to be prepared and sent to you on the 15 moonless night. The rest you did your own cooking inside that. That was the kind of area that was given to us. Just take a look at the terrain. This is just short of Zozila ke thoda aage. And 30 to 40 feet of snow padti hai saab. So you have to winter stock. If you haven't stocked winter, every bit of grain of salt, every tablespoon of sugar, you can't stay there. 40 feet of bloody snow. It is the second coldest place on this earth. And yours truly was given command here in the year of the Lord, September 1991. The snow came early, and when I landed up here, you can see the mustaches are black. That's the change. So when I came up here, this is what happened on the first night. This is tracer. From all sides on the Pakistani post, they opened heavy fire on us. Perhaps they had been told that a new commanding officer has come, and to greet him, the sky got lit up like जैसे वो महाभारत serial आपने देखा है ना, जिसमें वो, they exchange those super weapons and what have you. I said, what the bloody hell is going on? He said, sir, वो cricket match जीत गए और वो celebrate कर रहे हैं हम पे fire करके. I said, like damned hell, open up with this, open up with that. ये मारो सालों को. So as the new CEO, I said, this is G.D. Bakshi on test. So I picked up my, radio, the telephone, and I hollered at my company commander, what the hell are you doing, So they heard me out. Quietly, they then turned to the second in command. कहते, sir, ये CEO साहब ने तो ये बोल दिया है. अब जरा उनको समझाओ कि यहाँ के orders क्या हैं. So my second in command came running, sir, what are you doing? मैंने क्या हुआ? He said, sir, the orders are 8 rounds of this, you have to ask the brigade commanders. 10 rounds of this, you have to ask, he has to ask the GOC because they're trying to quieten things down here, sir. Ye, wo. I said, look, who is the commanding officer? Is it you, sir? He said, then you cork up. I give the orders here. You understand? And I take the responsibility for that orders. Now, mere muh se ye nikal gaya hai. You will fire means you use the rocket launchers. They will fire, you just use your training ammunition. We will say we were doing training. I have to train. And I can't fire my training rounds towards my brigade headquarters. So you train. So he said, yes, sir. I said, next time you do that, you get yourself out of this unit. Okay? Because here I am the CEO. That's period. I am responsible. तेरे को क्या फिक्र है? You don't look to the brigade commander has said this. Anybody talks, brigade commander ने बोला, उसने बोला, I will sack you first. You deal with me. So they opened fire, etc., etc. But quite obviously, we couldn't go beyond a certain level. Now I thought, yeah, this is too much. I can't take this. So I took it up with my authorities. My commander agreed with me. And fortunately for me, within a few days, the general officer commanding who was putting all these restrictions was posted out. And a new guy came, General O.P. Kaushik, who was gung-ho, who was a tiger, an absolute tiger, So he came. Now the snow had started. The orders were that when the snow starts, avalanche season comes, no movement, all movement to be frozen. I said, I have to see my posts. I'm not going to be a paper tiger, sit in the headquarters and, command from there. I want to see my post. He said, sir, you'll have to walk in the snow. You're not allowed. I said, theek hai. I am going. Please don't pass it on to the headquarters, where I spoke to my commander, said, मैं जा रहा हूँ. मेरे को post देखना, मैं लड़ाई कहता, I agree with you, I would do the same. So in this kind of snow, this is very mild. We beat a track to climb post from 7,000 to 14, 15, 16,000. You can imagine what that meant. So I reached one of my posts, which was you see that post? Is one of the very vulnerable posts that we had, very dominating posts, and the Pakistanis were punishing this one post like hell. It was held by the BSF. So I reached that post, and वहाँ पे बेचारे उनके जो थे post commander was a very old assistant commandant. he was much older than I am. He was not well. वो बेचारा खांस रहा था, बुरे हाल उसके. तो I said, यार तू यहीं लेट because then I'll have to evacuate you. तो सुबह I said, I want to go around your post. I reached that post deep at night, you know. I said, I want to go around your post. He said, sir, if you don't, मेरी तबीयत बहुत खराब है. आप मेरे इनको 2IC को ले जाइए. I said, ठीक है, आप चलिए. I want to see the post. Don't waste my time. So I went to the post. So after we went a little distance, the JCO stopped me. सर इसके आगे नहीं जाते. I said, अबे पोस्ट तो वो आगे दिख रहा है. सर बहुत फायर है, बहुत खतरा है साहब. मैंने कहा यार मेरे को तनख्वाह मिलती है खतरे में काम करने के लिए, आपको कोई कष्ट है आप मेरे पीछे हो जाइए. वी आर गोइंग, आई एम गोइंग टू सी द लास्ट पोस्ट. मैंने उनको पीछे किया. ही हैड नो ऑप्शन, पुअर चैप. वी वेंट, फॉर्चुनेटली नो फायर किया, बट आई सॉ द बंकर्स डिस्ट्रॉयड. सर ये बंकर कब से टूटे हुए हैं, तुमने रिपेयर क्यों नहीं किया? साहब बहुत फायर आता है. व्हेन आई रीच द एंड ऑफ दैट पोस्ट, it's a very apocryphal story. When I reached the end of the post, there was one morcha which was held. And this was an air defense gun, you know. And this is what that air defense guns looks like. It's an anti-aircraft gun, Zu-23. It had been sent there. And there was a small little guy, 5 feet, 1 inch tall, Havaldar Rajesh Singh from Garhwal, who was there. He saluted me and he said, sir, मैं आपसे अलग बात करना चाहता हूँ. I said, fine. I said, साहब आप जरा पीछे हट जाइए. हाँ क्या हुआ? कहते साहब आप नए सीओ साहब हैं? मैं कहा यस. साहब हमारा फौज का यहाँ बहुत बेइज्जती हुआ है और मैं वेट कर रहा था कि नया सीओ साहब आएगा तो मैं उसको बोलूँगा. मैंने कहा क्या हुआ बेटा? कहता सर हमने ये एडी गन यहाँ लगाई, 1 महीने बाद पाकिस्तानी L60 गन ले आए जो मेरी गन की रेंज से जो है 1.5 गुना ज़्यादा है, और उन्होंने हमारे मार के इलाके के बाहर लगा के साहब ऐसा मारा, यहाँ पे कुछ कहने की बात नहीं है. और उसके बाद साहब ये BSF वाले बेचारों को बोला था कि साहब मत अपने मट्टी के तेल के बैरल आसमान के यू नो ऑन द स्काई लाइन वहाँ मत डालो. इन्होंने वहीं डाला है और उन्होंने साहब अपना वो रॉकेट फायर किए, ये किया, सारे के ऑयल के बैरल जले, 200 फुट लपटे गई साहब. तब से इतना मार मारा, सारे बंकर तोड़ दिए साहब. और ये सारे बेचारे BSF वाले घबरा के ये रिवर्स स्लोप, दिस इज कॉल्ड रिवर्स स्लोप, वहां जाके छुप गए साहब. तब से आगे नहीं आए. अगर मैं यहां नहीं होता साहब तो ये पोस्ट खाली था, पाकिस्तान आके पकड़ लेता. You know, my jaw fell. I don't want to use any other military language of what else fell, but you know, I was flabbergasted. I came down and I rang up my brigade commander. I said, sir, आपकी और मेरी इज्जत गई, धुल गई. He said, what the hell? Then I told him, I said, sir, I want the BSF out of this place. This is too critical. My most critical shoulder I can't give it. He said, GD, relax. These are two different organizations. You can't, you know, cast any slur, aspersion. If you get them out, they will all react. You know that हमारी बेइज्जती की है, ये किया, वो किया. तू ऐसा कर, तू इसको एक प्लेटून चेंज कर दे, अपनी बेस्ट प्लेटून भेज और वो. So I called Subedar Sher Singh, my toughest bloody CO. I said, जाइए इस पोस्ट को पकड़ लो and turn it around. I want to be ready to fight. And you know what that boy told me? The critical part of the story is, साहब इन्होंने बहुत मारा पाकिस्तानियों ने इस पोस्ट को. ये मेरे को कमांडर साहब ने पोस्ट के दिया कि तुम मत फायर कर भाई, हम और नहीं खाना चाहते. तो वी हैड टू स्टॉप. कहता सर उन्होंने कोई 1 घंटा मारा, उसके बाद उन्होंने फायर बंद किया साहब, और उन्होंने फिर अपने छत पे आके भंगड़ा किया कि माँ का दूध पिया तो मारो. और साहब मेरे को खून जल गया, लेकिन जब मैंने बोला तो उन्होंने बोला कोर्ट मार्शल कर दूंगा, खबरदार फायर किया. हम यहां जवाब देने की हालत में नहीं. और साहब मेरी आत्मा जल गई, मेरी आत्मा में कोड़ हो गया है कि ये पाकिस्तानियों ने ये किया. आप कमांडिंग ऑफिसर हैं, यू हैव टू अवेंज इट. आई सेड ओके बॉय. सो देन ऑफ कोर्स वी टुक इट अप. आई वेंट टू माय पीपल, I talked up to my headquarters, made presentation, sir, I have to hit back. It is a matter of my unit's honor. This is what the Pakistanis have done. And when they got to know that they have done this, they said, okay. So I had 2 mortar platoons, I was given 3 more. This is 81 millimeter mortars, right? I was given anti-tank guns. I said, I want to prepare and hit back. ऐसे चोंचलेबाजी नहीं करेंगे साहब कि उन्होंने गोली चलाई, हम गोली चला दें, मोटर चलाया, मोटर चलाया. We want to hit so hard that it hurts. And fortunately, I was backed by General O.P. Kaushik. Tough guy. He said, GD, you kick them. I said, sir, I'll prepare and kick them. I'll dig down. We'll go down, we'll prepare our defenses. So I gave them a month. I said, get ready. We moved this gun up. Then we wanted to move a 75-24 howitzer in the direct firing role. So we sent up the mules. The path was so steep that the mules bloody rolled down. You know, it's a very imbalanced load. It has to be broken into two. The mules rolled down and there was hell to pay. There was this thing. I said, sir, this gun has to be pushed up. We went to the village. मैंने बोला मैं एक पेटी रम दूंगा. मैं एक पेटी रम इस गांव में बांटूंगा. आप ये गन को ऊपर पहुंचाएंगे? बोले साहब जरूर. वो बांस पे they tied up the bloody pieces. These are Chilasi Baltis, locals of that area. And their men, women, children all combined, but the whole bloody village went up, but they took that bloody gun up. It was assembled and put. I was said, so the gun is ready. So when this post was ready, we told them to dig down. They were in, taking position, some in the open, etc. We got them all dug down, and then we were ready. When we were ready, I said, let me know when you are ready. Sher Singh, mere ko bata de, tu kab tayar hai. Then I called my Subedar Major. I said, Subedar Major Sahab, chalo. So we climbed this post. You remember that peak? The highest point, there was the post, so I took position there. My radio set operator was here, my Subedar Major was here. We said, all weapons in this post, fire! So the mortar started, right? Ye dekhiye. And then we had the artillery. I had been given permission to use artillery to punish the Pakistanis for this thing, And the artillery gun started, a regiment of artillery opened fire. I'm talking of the year of the Lord 1991. Now they're very shy of opening fire, anything beyond mortars. The regiment of artillery opened fire. We blasted the 75-24 gun opened fire. And जैसे झरना बहता है ना साहब, उनके पत्थर टूट के थाला वहां गिरने शुरू किए. The Pakistani started shouting there, "Oh Grai, क्या कर रहे हो? पागल हो गए हो?" मैंने कहा मारो इनको. The Pakistanis after some time fled, vacated the forward slopes, went on to the reverse slope, right? And there was no response. All fire from the Pakistani side stopped. My radio operator who was with me, he just tapped me on the shoulder. I said, हाँ क्या हुआ? He said, sir वो सफेद झंडा दिखा रहे हैं. सफेद झंडा means बस हो गई साहब. अब बंद करिए. White flag means we've had enough. Boss, stop. You see? तो मैंने उसको बोला तेरे को दिख रहा है? I could see the white flag. It was quite clear. It was huge. मैं कहा तेरे को दिख रहा है? Now my Johnny got quite confused. You see, in the army, when your boss asks you, अबे तेरे को दिख रहा है? So that poor chap looked at me. He धीरे से बोला, हाँ sir. तेरे को दिख रहा है? No sir. Keep quiet. मारो इनको और. White झंडा खड़ा करने के मतलब ये नहीं कि जो हमको इतना मारा, all that is forgotten, washed away, and we are good friends. Kick them. So one hour that bloody post was plastered, brought down half, and then I said, उन्होंने बोला सर कोई जवाब नहीं आ रहा, मजा नहीं आ रहा साहब फायर करने का. ये जवाब देना बंद कर दिया है. ऐसा 10 मिनट और किया. Then I said, okay. मैं कहा सुबेदार मेजर साहब सीटी बजाइए, तो they said cease fire. ऐसा तमाम जवान अपने पोस्ट का छत पे आ जाए, अपने अपने बंकर के छत पे आ जाओ. तो सब छत पे आ गए. अब भंगड़ा करो, अब भंगड़ा करो. Ladies and gentlemen, that was the last time I was pushed. The Pakistanis dare not open fire in that area. If I had waited for orders, if I had, waited कि मेरे को कोई बताए कुछ, don't react, act. Be proactive. In a situation which is ambiguous, which is not clear, in flux, decide and act. And once you act, trust your subordinates. Hold their hand. I've heard of so many of these cases. I've given orders to do something goes wrong, human rights blare up starts. I don't know you. I'm sorry, sir. Your command will disown you tomorrow. They will go out, they will obey orders, but they won't fire. Loyalty is a two-way street. If I expect my subordinates to be loyal to me, I would equally want I would be required to be loyal to my subordinates when the chips are down. This is a small little case study that I've given, which tells you there are lots of lateral spin-offs. The idiom may be different, the threats and challenges are the same, the degree of ambiguity is the same, and creativity, the higher you go in your careers, the more you are supposed to look right and left to other environments to draw your lessons and conclusions. I thank you all for a very patient listening, and of course Deepshika has been looking anxiously at me because old soldiers tend to take off. Thank you very much. Jai Hind.